So I'm calling this Toxic Femininity Part 1 because I'm quite sure there's enough toxic femininity for at least another video. In fact, it'd be easy to create a whole series of these if I just focused on specific examples. But I'm going to try and use these examples as a jumping off point to talk about larger problems. Teen charged with lying about being raped by college football players. What? A woman lied about rape? Come on, that never happens. 2 college football players who were expelled last year after rape accusations have been cleared by police after authorities say their accuser recanted her story. Nikki Yavino, 18, of South Setauket, New York, has been charged with second-degree falsely reporting an incident and tampering with or fabricating physical evidence in connection to an incident at a Sacred Heart University football party in October. When pressed about inconsistencies in her original statement, Yavino admitted she made up the rape allegations against the 2 football players in hopes of gaining sympathy from another man, a prospective boyfriend, according to an arrest warrant affidavit. Now, we probably all know of situations where guy A likes girl B, but girl C likes guy A, so girl C tells guy A a lie to put him off girl B in the hope that he'll turn his attention to girl C. And that's a bitchy thing to do, and you should steer clear of all such scumbags. But that's not even in the same ballpark as what Yavino did here. This is narcissism of the highest order, and all because you want attention. So let's look at the details. So at this party, Yavino claimed 2 men pulled her into a bathroom in the basement of the house and held her down, taking turns sexually assaulting her. I don't want to be in here, I don't want to do anything, police said she claimed. She told the men, my friends are waiting for me outside, let me go outside. Both men admitted to having sex with Yavino but claimed it was consensual. Bridgeport Police Detective Walberto Cotto Jr. later questioned Yavino after other students said it appeared Yavino went into the bathroom willingly with the 2 men. One student, according to the arrest warrant affidavit, said he overheard Yavino telling the men she wanted to have sex with them. She admitted that she made up the allegation of sexual assault against the football players because it was the first thing that came to mind, and she didn't want to lose another male student as a friend and potential boyfriend. She stated that she believed when the other male student heard the allegation, it would make him angry and sympathetic to her, according to the affidavit. Yeah, that's because women know the male propensity to protect and sympathise with them, and men often fall for it because this is part of our wiring, part of our evolutionary psychology. When a woman turns on the waterworks, our protective instinct kicks in. And feminists are now trying to use that same instinct to push the listen and believe narrative. And that's why you need to red pill yourself against this type of toxic femininity. And yes, before you start typing in the comments that we can't dismiss all instances of women crying as toxic femininity, I understand that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to be able to sift the toxic form from the genuine form. Now, the good news is that she's been charged and faces up to 5 years in prison if convicted. Now, what do you think the chances are she gets the maximum? Well, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but I hope the punishment fits the crime. This is not just about punishing a liar. It's understanding the consequences of your actions. Other than being accused of being a pedophile, there's probably no worse crime to be accused of, and it can destroy lives. Now, as I said, I don't just want to focus on this specific incident. I want to talk about the phenomenon of false rape allegations more generally, and specifically the rate of false rape reporting. So how common are false rape accusations? Ask a feminist and you'll probably be told that it's 2%. And if you ask for the source on this claim, you can almost guarantee it leads back to the infamous Susan Brownmiller's book, Against Our Will. And here's a little neat summary of Susan Brownmiller's claim from Bloomberg. Her citation for this figure, the 2%, is a single speech by an appellate judge before a small group of lawyers. His source for this statistic was a single area of New York that started having policewomen conduct all rape interviews. This is not data. It's an anecdote about an anecdote. And that's right, Brownmiller was able to produce a transcript of that speech, but no one involved in writing the speech could remember or find a study or any data for that matter to back up that claim. And yet this flimsiest of flimsy sources is where feminists get their 2% figure from. So what is the actual figure? Well, the answer is unfortunately we don't really know, but we can make some ballpark guesstimates based on studies that have actual data. Now, before we get to the studies, the FBI said in 1996, the last time they reported such numbers to my knowledge, that the false rape allegation rate is closer to 8%. The unfounded rate or percentage of complaints determined through investigation to be false is higher for forcible rape than for any other index crime. 8% of forcible rape complaints in 1996 were unfounded, while the average for all index crimes was 2%. Now to the various studies. Well, in 2006 there was a meta-analysis conducted covering about 20 different studies, and they had false allegation rates ranging from 1.5% up to 90%. And sample sizes vary from as little as 18 to more than 2,500. So that's not particularly helpful. And of course, there are differing methodologies used for the studies, and police procedures have changed over the years. Of the 20 studies, only 7 report rates under double figures, whilst 12 report rates between 10 and 47%. The 90% rate looks like an outlier, given no other study came up with a rate of over 47%. Now, one of the most often cited studies is from Canon from 1994, which turned up a 41% false allegation rate. Now, I'm briefly going to read part of the methodology of this study. This investigation is essentially a case study of one police agency in a small metropolitan area, population 70,000, in the Midwestern United States. This city was targeted for study because it offered an almost model laboratory for studying false rape allegations. First, its police agency is not inundated with serious felony cases, and therefore has the freedom and the motivation to record and thoroughly pursue all rape complaints. In fact, agency police forbids police officers to use their discretion in deciding whether to officially acknowledge a rape complaint, regardless how suspect that complaint may be. Second, the declaration of a false allegation follows a highly institutionalized procedure. The investigation of all rape complaints always involves a serious offer to polygraph the complainants and the suspects. Additionally, for a declaration of false charge to be made, the complainant must admit that no rape had occurred. She is the sole agent who can say that the rape charge is false. The police department will not declare a rape charge as false when the complainant, for whatever reason, fails to pursue the charge or cooperate on the case, regardless of how much doubt the police may have regarding the validity of the charge. In short, these cases are declared false only because the complainant admitted they are false. Now, I'm not suggesting that 41% is an accurate rate, and Cannon himself warns against generalizing from his study, but since this is an actual study with a clear definition of what meets the criteria of a false allegation, and which there was a procedure for investigation that was not left to individual investigators' discretion, I would say that this study has much more veracity than the unsupported 2% claim. In addition, Kennedy 2000 published a replication of the Cannon study in a Michigan city of approximately 100,000 people with the same standard of determining false claims, that being that the complainant admitted they had falsified their allegations. In that study, it was found 32% of rape claims were deemed to be false. So we have a totally unsupported yet widely propagated 2% number from feminists, 8% from the FBI, and anywhere from 1.5% to 47% from other studies. So what is the actual number? Well, as I said before, unfortunately, we just don't know. But I don't think it's unreasonable to assume it's in double figures. Consider this.
Let's take the 1 in 5 idea. The best Federal Research Bureau of Justice Statistics, which has been the best federal crime research for many years, would tell you about 1 in 40, maybe 1 in 50 sexually assaulted, and maybe 1 in 100 raped.
So when you hear claims that 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 women are sexually assaulted on college campuses, which, as you just heard from the most reliable sources, is not even close to being true, I think you can reasonably say that a figure like 1 in 5 rape claims are false is a considerably more accurate claim than the 1 in 5 number for sexual assault on college campuses. Now, the various reasons cited for this type of behaviour fall into a few different categories. Attention and sympathy, as we saw with Uvino, as an alibi for some behaviour they'd rather no one find out about, and sometimes revenge. So to conclude, if feminists insist on putting male behaviour under the microscope, then I think it's fair we scrutinise female behaviour as well. And although there are evolutionary arguments to be made for why women might lie about being raped, we should remember that just because certain traits of men and women are natural doesn't make them inherently good or right. And in fact, if we can identify toxic behaviours, then we should do our best to try and overcome them, especially when they can have catastrophic consequences for those accused of crimes they didn't commit. And since it's the end of the month, I'd just like to say thank you to all these legends for their ongoing support on Patreon. It really is much appreciated.